Crawford, I know the other guy's talking about he's already made plans that he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Janibek. Well, you still got the Cuban assassin.
The second half of the fight put an emphasis on the fact that Bud was in fact outboxing him in the first half of the fight.
It's more fierce, more fearsome, and more angrier, and more meaner than both of those guys.
Terence Crawford was expected to finally slow down after strolling into Las Vegas in September 2025 and dismantling Canelo Alvarez to become the undisputed champion at 168 pounds. Most fighters would have taken a victory lap or stepped away on top. But Crawford isn't built like that. Even as the confetti was being swept from the floor at Allegiant Stadium, Bud was already planning his next conquest. The whispers soon turned into confirmation. Crawford is cutting down to 160 pounds, chasing an unprecedented fourth undisputed title.
The second half of the fight put an emphasis on the fact that Bud was in fact outboxing him in the first half of the fight. It is one of the biggest wins in boxing history. And now let Uncle Max gather around, children, and I will explain this. This is the situation, guys. No one has ever been a 4-division champion in boxing. Not a real one. Oh, Pacquiao won 8 and Oscar De La Hoya won 11 and this one won 15. No, I'm talking about Ring Magazine champ or lineal champ. You are the champion of that division.
Get them all.
Forever, the record was 3 by Henry Armstrong. Manny Pacquiao was the first dude to really win 4. Floyd gets credit for 4 for beating Canelo, but that wasn't at the junior middleweight limit. I don't count that.
Right.
I don't count that.
Right.
Terence Crawford just joined Manny Pacquiao as the only legit 4-division champion in the history of boxing.
Legit.
And he
It's a chilling thought for every middleweight contender. Yet one man refuses to back down. Instead of dodging the threat, he's charging straight at it. At 42, the Cuban great Erislandy Lara is emerging from the sidelines. Lara isn't merely requesting a showdown in his camp, is loudly and aggressively demanding.
Been with Lara a long time. Long time. He's about to make history. When he unifies those titles, Crawford, I know the other guy's talking about he's already made plans that he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Janibek. Well, you still got the Cuban assassin right here, baby. The technician, one of the best to ever do it. Canelo, you know we got. Come on, Canelo, you know, one of the best to ever do it, man.
Lara's team believes they've spotted something in Crawford's style that the rest of the world has overlooked. And if you dismiss this as a fading champion chasing one last payday, you might be underestimating the very trap they think Crawford is about to stumble into.
In case you come, Marcel, you know, you've been there since the beginning. You were there for that Canelo robbery.
The unification coming.
It's coming. December 6th, baby.
And you want Crawford?
Hey, he can get it too. He can get it too. All the respect to him. One of the best to ever do it. But why wouldn't you want the best? He's at the elite. He's at the peak. Why wouldn't you want the best? Right? That's what it's all about, going against the best. Cream of the crop. One of the best to ever do it. Don't forget about my man Alex. And Louis D. Louis D. That's a product of Louis D. One of the best managers in boxing, baby. Jack. Can you get a photo with Lara? Get in there with it. Get in there. Yeah.
Erislandy Lara and his trainer Bob Santos aren't making polite requests, they're delivering warnings. Santos recently went public with a stark message to the Omaha star Lara is the most dangerous opponent you could face at 160. No debate.
I don't know. These guys both come from a big amateur background. You know, Lara is gonna obviously older, so that's why you probably favor Janibek. But Janibek, I don't think is a spring chicken himself, right? So I mean, it's one of those things where there's gonna be, I think, like Champ Chris said, it's not the most exciting fight, but there's a lot of chess here because these guys come from a very high IQ background, both in their amateur careers and it's spilled over into their pro careers. And there's decent power there as well. You know, Lara's getting some sort of highlight reel knockouts. We've seen Janibek do that here and there. So, you know, that kind of thing is also not out of the question.
As Canelo Alvarez has been a great fighter his whole career, people like Erislandy Lara gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome, and more angrier, and more meaner than both of those guys. So you know if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint, and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me. It's just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body.
The logic behind their push is intriguing. Lara and Santos aren't counting on youth or raw power. They're betting on pure boxing intelligence. Their message is simple. Crawford has never shared the ring with a technician capable of matching his strategic brilliance. Lara, the longtime WBA champion, has haunted the division for more than a decade, the fighter no one looks impressive against. Now his camp is openly testing Crawford's claim to greatness, hitting him with a blunt question. If you want to be the best...
You know, you favor Janibek, but if Janibek gives you one of these dud performances, you know, Lara has the craftiness to offset him, you know? So I think it's more important for Janibek to be the guy to really be on, because I think Lara, yeah, he's been inconsistent, but for the most part, you kind of know what you're going to get with Lara. You know, he can offset you, and he will offset you if you don't show up at your best. You favor Janibek because Lara is much older, but I don't know, man. I mean, if Janibek gives us one of those inconsistent performances that we've seen, you know, it's not out of the question that Lara here comes in and.
That's it. That's it. Nice. Yeah. One more two. Okay. Woo. 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 Woo.
If Crawford truly wants to cement himself as the greatest ever, he can't bypass the toughest puzzle in the division simply because the man happens to be in his 40s. Lara's team is convinced they hold the kryptonite for Bud, not raw power. But surgical precision old clips have resurfaced of Lara explaining how to dismantle elite counterpunchers. And fans are beginning to piece together why his camp is so confident.
Erislandy Lara, before we went on camera, you and I were talking about how long he's been in the game. Made his debut in 2008. Maybe the best pure boxer of this era, and that's saying a lot.
I mean, pure boxer who has transformed himself into a pure puncher, apparently. Since he's been fighting at middleweight, he's scoring first-round knockouts against, I mean, not the most descriptive of opposition, but you mentioned how 160 hasn't been the deepest division as of late. But yeah, he started knocking guys out later. And we talked to Bob Santos about that, and he was saying, he's like, yeah, he always had power, but he moved more. Now that he's set down on his punches, he's not moving quite as much because he's got older legs. Now that power's starting to show itself, which you really need at middleweight. And even though Lara, came up from 54, had some really good big wins down there. I thought he beat Canelo Alvarez at 54, by the way. But it's now moved up to middleweight. It's turned out to be a good puncher at middleweight with not only respectable power but world-class power. And this is an interesting fight.
Yeah, he's an older guy, so obviously there's always those veteran tactics. But again, Alan Canuli he's from the Soviet school of boxing, so I don't know how many you have. Chris, maybe you know better than me. This guy was one of those guys with tons of amateur fights.
Absolutely. I don't know off the top of my head, but he's probably one of those guys with 200-300.
No, I do think we have to start rating that. We have to start understanding that. When we talk about a guy only lost with 8 fights, like I see idiot fans, for example, talking about when they want to criticize somebody, or he lost to this guy who only had 8 pro fights. Yeah, the same guy with 8 pro fights also had 1,000 amateur fights, dude. Right. That actually matters,
Assassin has made a career out of making aggressive fighters look lost, and his camp believes Crawford's pressure, even the calculated kind, will backfire against a southpaw who never fights on anyone else's terms. Bob Santos didn't hold back, declaring that Lara is ready to unify immediately. It's a dramatic shift in tone. Lara is now hunting the sport's most dangerous predator. The move is bold, risky, and dripping with confidence. They aren't concerned with Crawford's speed or his switch-hitting versatility. In their eyes, Lara's defensive mastery is the one style Crawford has yet to solve and possibly never will.
But if you ask me what I think about Janibek Canuli fighting Erislandy Lara, Erislandy Lara, his legs aren't what they used to be, but he knows how to move, how to set traps. He's got long arms. He knows how and when to throw that left hand. I mean, you kind of got to favor Alan Canuli, but I would not be surprised if Erislandy Lara clipped him. Now, this is where shit gets interesting. No matter what happens, either Alan Canuli or Lara will end up with having 3 belts at 160. Then Adamus and Sultanov, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to have that WBC belt. But then you got Terence Crawford, who may be able to come down and in 2 fights become undisputed at 160. Because I do think Crawford will beat Erislandy Lara. I think he would beat Alan Canuli. Adamus can fight, man, and he and Crawford both can switch it. He got power. He's athletic. That's not an easy fight for Crawford. Nursultanov, I think Crawford beats him. But I think Crawford, the more you look at this, Crawford may be sitting back just watching, saying, "Shit, I may get the 4-for-1 deal." He may do something else in the interim. Let these fights play out, and then see what happens. Where maybe he lets those guys fight it out for undisputed, and Crawford goes down in one fight, picks up 4 belts. But we got to sit back and wait and see how this all plays out. But I do think for Crawford, the David Benavidez fight, yeah, whatever. But what's really interesting is Crawford, no kidding, is maybe 2 or 3 fights away from becoming undisputed at 160 if he can do the business down there. But let these guys damage themselves and bang themselves up first to just make it even easier for Crawford to get another undisputed distinction.
Before the super fight, can even be discussed a brutal obstacle stands in the way. On December 6th, Erislandy Lara must survive a unification clash that many insiders expect him to lose. He's walking straight into Janibek Alimkhanuly, the fearsome puncher holding the WBO and IBF titles. This isn't a routine championship bout. It's essentially the semifinal for the Crawford sweepstakes. The stakes couldn't be higher. Janibek is a betting favorite for a reason, a prime knockout machine who has been smashing through contenders. But Lara is the seasoned technician who has seen every style imaginable. If he falls short, the dream ends, and he likely walks away into the history books. But if he shocks the world, he instantly becomes the belt holder standing between Crawford and the slice of history he's chasing.
Best jab, I would have to go with, I'll just go with Lara.
Lara?
Yeah.
What about the jab? Quick, powerful?
It was tough to get inside. He's the only fighter. Every fight I fought on TV, I stopped him. Every fight I ever fought on television before Lara, I stopped him. And that was the first fight that was able to stay away from me, so I'll say Lara. Best footwork, I would say, by Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford?
Yeah, Crawford, he's moving on me pretty good, yeah. Terence Crawford.
IQ. It's the last one.
Oh, damn, I would have gone Terence Crawford, IQ. All right, best IQ, by Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford.
December 6th isn't just another fight. It's the audition to decide who gets to become the final boss in Terence Crawford's video game. And is Crawford worried? Not even slightly. At the recent WBO convention in Colombia, he sat right beside Janibek's manager, stared directly into the camera, pointed at his eyes, and said, "I got my eyes on you." Ice cold, calculated. He didn't choose a side. He simply wished both men luck, fully aware he plans to take everything from whoever survives. That moment confirmed the whispers. Crawford is absolutely targeting the winner of Lara versus Janibek. He's not interested in a tune-up at 160. He wants the belts immediately. For now, he's recharging after the Canelo War, calmly waiting to see which man steps forward as his next victim.
You got Crawford looking to go down, possibly. Janibek, I got my eyes on you. You know what I mean? And fight at 160. Why not stay at 168? You're undisputed there. Because you're not really a 168 pounder, and you're not trying to fight the Diego Pachecos and Mbillis of the world at 168, because they're not in the same position as Canelo. Like, I don't care what none of y'all say. I said what I said. I meant what I said. Janibek versus Crawford. I mean, I guess if he beats Lara, then maybe. But I just don't see that being bigger and better than the options at 54, like Fundora, Boots, Virgil Ortiz, if he beats Lubin especially, or even like Murtazaev. Like, what's the real difference between beating a Janibek and a Murtazaev? Neither name is like super recognizable. And it just, this is kind of back to the types of names that Crawford was fighting with Top Rank. And that's just the skinny of it, fighting some good fighters. Like Janibek's a good fighter, but it's a backtrack. How you go from Canelo to possibly a Janibek, unless he do something crazy versus Lara, and then like how Andy Ruiz blew up overnight beating Joshua, which completely different circumstance, so I doubt that would happen. You dig? Janibek is fighting a 40-year-old Lara. Great fight, sleeper fight, but at the same time, I don't think a victory over a Lara at 40 is going to blow him up to the level needed to make Crawford and Janibek like a blockbuster fight where it does 1 million pay-per-views or something.
Is Terence Crawford making a mistake by chasing history? Is he underestimating the old man game fans are debating whether Yuriorki's Lara's style could be a nightmare for someone moving down in weight? If Crawford comes in drained from the cut or overconfident after the Canelo victory, Lara is exactly the kind of technical, methodical sniper who can pick him apart and grind out a decision, potentially tarnishing the perfect record. Boxing politics could also throw a wrench in the works. Even if Lara wins and Crawford wants a challenge, the IBF is already complicating matters. Reports confirm the IBF has ordered the winner of Lara versus Janibek to face mandatory challenger Austin Williams with no exceptions. This is the bureaucracy that kills the allure of super fights. If the IBF strips the belt, the possibility of an undisputed championship vanishes, no matter Crawford's ambitions. Yet legacy often rises above politics. Crawford is chasing a ghostly chance to achieve what no man has ever done: 6 titles across 6 weight classes. Lara, on the other hand, wants to cement his name as the man who took down a generational great. At this point, both fighters are more concerned with legacy than money. If Lara emerges victorious on December 6th, public pressure could force sanctioning bodies to step aside, finally giving fans a matchup they've been craving on one side. You have the greatest fighter of his generation, coming off the most significant win of his career, aiming to dominate one final division. On the other, a 42-year-old Cuban master who refuses to fade quietly into history. Lara is betting his entire legacy on the belief that he is the one puzzle Crawford cannot solve, and he has every reason to think so. Ask any real boxing fan about 2014. Lara defeated Canelo Alvarez, outboxed the sport's biggest star, made him miss repeatedly, yet was robbed by the judges. He knows what it's like to beat a superstar without the official recognition, and he won't let history repeat itself. Many predict a one-sided affair, but in boxing, it's often the punch you don't see or the veteran underestimated that changes everything. Crawford is focused on the prize, but he better keep his hands up because the Cuban assassin is ready to strike. That's it for today's breakdown. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our future content. Share your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think will emerge victorious? Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next video.